This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Coffee-fueled stories. Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Michelle, your host and pocket DJ of Coffee Fueled Stories, a show where storytelling and coffee hang out. This week's special guest is Lauri Schoenfeld. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
It was very hard when I was on your show to sit back and not want to ask you all kinds of questions. So now the spotlight is all on you, my dear.
Yes, I totally relate to the pausing and letting someone else ask the questions.
Lauri, we are going to talk about your book, Little Owl, and your show and things of that nature. So without further ado, do you want to just dive right in?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to share with you my thoughts. This is what happened. I finished reading the book and I just went twisted, exclamation mark, with a scary face, and then good Lord, exclamation mark.
That delights me a lot. Thank you.
Good Lord, woman. How? Okay. So this was an 11-year journey, which I definitely want to tap into that because we talk about the writing process. I also don't want to give anything away because I want other people to read your book and have the same twisted, good Lord reaction.
You and me both. I probably said that multiple times while editing and writing, like, good Lord, what are we doing here?
So the book itself is a journey, but the process to writing the book was a journey. So let's talk about that. You state in the beginning about your 13-year-old self. You did it. Kudos. I was cheering before I had even started reading the book. Aww.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, she did it. If you want, can I just say, best opening line? You had coffee in there. Best opening line. And then you broke my heart because you spilled the coffee on the next page, but you redeemed yourself by having coffee once again on the third page. Literally, coffee, page 1, exclamation mark, page 2, exclamation mark, page 3, exclamation mark.
I wondered if you were going to catch those coffee moments within the story, which clearly you did.
I caught them all. I caught it with Abbott. I caught it with Adeline. I caught it every time you mentioned coffee. My little heart was just singing. I was like, yay! So let's talk about that. So we've got Adeline, Cash, Eliza, Leora, Seth, Sam, Abbott. There's a whole cast of characters. You gave us a whole, and you also did it in different points of view, which I thought was really cool. And so my question to you is, when you first started your writing of this book, was that something that you knew right away? You're like, this is how I want this story to go in this point of view with these characters?
I love that question because no, originally it was just Adeline. I was in Adeline's head trying to figure out her fear and anxieties around her upbringing and PTSD and fear of losing her children. And I grew up loving Nancy Drew and loving to read books with multiple POVs. And so it kind of just integrated when I was in Adeline's head of what are some of your biggest struggles. One of the biggest things that she struggled with was not only trusting herself, but trusting everyone else around her. And I thought, how fascinating could that be then to kind of weave in that Nancy Drew, Inspector Gadget kind of feel with that trust element from not only her perspective, but other people's perspectives that also struggle with trust, so that we're in this whirlwind of who do we trust? What's going on here? Is this insecurity real or is it all in their head? And play around a lot with those layers. So that was a fun, unexpected twist I didn't plan on setting out to do, but it definitely turned out that way and I loved it.
Oh, that's why I was like twisted. I was like, it's twisted on like several different layers. It's twisted in the storyline, twisted in that what the characters go through. And every now and then I would have like goosebumps. I would have moments of goosebumps because I literally had to, we as readers, we always want to try to guess who the killer is or where is the story going, right? We kind of have this like anticipation and we think that we're smart and we can handle where we're going, right? And so for me, I literally had to kind of shut all of that off. I was like, okay, stop being a noisy reader, right? Like where I'm in my head a lot and I'm trying to like anticipate. I literally had to shut that down and just go, where is she taking me? Wait, 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 wait. So, like I said, twisted and good Lord. Oh, damn. So, this 11-year journey. So, when you started out writing this book, did you like, I feel like I'm doing all the talking here, Lauri. Help me out. This is your show, damn it.
It started actually, I was not planning to make this as a novel. I knew I wanted to write a novel. But it actually started on my second baby. I had massive postpartum depression, which hit me really, really hard. And I personally grew up in a home with childhood abuse. And so I had complex PTSD that I wasn't even aware of until later on in life. And so at this point, with my second baby, I was blending postpartum depression and complex PTSD at an all-time level where I was really struggling. I couldn't breathe. I had massive insomnia and anxiety all the time, specifically around losing my daughters. Like it was so very livid in my bones that I began just writing it down in a journal. Every time I would have that anxiety and the fear, I would write down, okay, where's this coming from? What am I doing? What am I eating? Like, what am I listening to? Just trying to figure out why I was feeling so much of this in my body. And that little journal ended up a few months later, I started hearing a character in my head, Adeline. And it was interesting how I could almost put all of my fears that at that time in my life, I was not ready to tackle, but I could place them into Adeline and have her tackle those insecurities, the fears, the trust issues, and where it started out again just as a journal of trying to understand myself. I feel like it was almost therapy, like 11-year therapy for myself, but then it also turned into its own creepy, twisted little suspenseful book that was completely unexpected and delightful. And yeah, so it was definitely the 11 years was a lot of parts of stopping the book, going through my own healing process of different things that I needed to look at within my life that I was going through, and then writing again in that space and that perspective that I wouldn't have been able to write in 2 or 3 years prior to that. So it was my own, I really do call it my therapy book because it really was a big part of that for me.
Talk about like that. Okay, this is the power of writing. This is the power. It is so magical and it is powerful and it's painful and delightful and that's why like writing is so cathartic. Like reading is cathartic, writing is cathartic. So that is, I'm sorry that you had to go through all of that, but I'm glad that there was a little trinket that came out of it that just, transports us.
Thank you. Yes.
So
Adeline made me brave.
yeah, like and I'm literally holding back because I don't want to tell anyone because they have to experience this on their own. I don't want to spoil anything, but you and I can talk offline. After the show, we're going to talk offline. So we'll do that. So do you anticipate having any other novels now that you kind of went through this process and this was, like you said, this was like healing and therapy, but like, did it kind of spark something in you to say, you know what, I can do something that doesn't necessarily have to be so from me, but I feel that I'm inspired to write a new story or create something else Nancy Drew like.
Hmm. I love that question so much because I'm writing a second and third book tied to Little Owl, but I also am writing a YA contemporary book. And I learned that I cannot not write about something that relates to me. So my YA contemporary is talking about essentially this girl who had a dream to sing on Broadway, but she loses her voice permanently and has to figure out how to either let go of her dreams for good, or find another way to shine on stage. And that was literally me taking the 14 months of me losing my voice and not sure if I would get it back, and compiling that part of my journey within her story. There's a theme there for me. I don't think I can at this point. I could maybe write a book that's not tied to some piece of me, but I really like being able to write novels and create, and also tap into like those questions of my heart and my soul and the universe, and like, why are we here? Like all of that fascinates me so much too.
Have you noticed how Coffee Fueled Stories doesn't have any ads? That's because I work tirelessly to keep this show alive. After 3 years on my own, I've decided I need to ask for your help. I've never asked anyone to subscribe. I've never asked anyone to leave a review. I've never asked anyone to rate the show. And I've never asked anyone to pay to listen. There are a few ways you can help support the show. I've created a Patreon page, Coffee Fueled Stories, and a subscription section on my podcast website. It's simple to support and help me keep my dream alive. Just click the link in the show notes to set up your paid subscription option. It's that easy. Thank you for your support. That's awesome. And if you think about it, it's a way of literally putting yourself, it's not just you creating something out of thin air. I mean, yes, you still would be attached to it because it is your art, you created it. But if there's an element of your own personal struggle, then it adds that extra layer. You know what I mean? There's really a piece of your heart and a part of you in it, literally. And I can relate to that completely. I've been toying with the idea of a magical realism novel related to my grandmother, my mom, and myself. It's in my drawer. It's been in here for like 8 years. I have an idea, but I don't know how to do a novel because I'm so succinct. Like I can talk to you for an hour about coffee, but if you asked me to write about it, it would literally probably be like 5 words. I love coffee. Boom. Like that's all you need to know. So
That's a good tagline, Michelle. That's a good one.
my writing is always succinct, but my conversations are always I don't want to say verbose because they're not verbose. They're fulfilled. Like for me, communicating in person or in this particular fashion, speaking, conversing, I prefer to do it with a lot of words. But when I write, for some reason, I'm always just like, here,
Mm-hmm.
that's all you need. But so I hear you. But the reason that where I was going with this is my mom and my grandmother, like I'm very connected to them and I love our family history. And so there would be a piece of myself tied to that novel. And if I was just to create it without having my grandmother or my mom, elements of my mom, the characters of my grandmother or my mom and myself, I don't know if I would have the same, I think I would be like too nonchalant with it. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be attached. It wouldn't be personal. So I hear what you're saying. There's something about having a piece of yourself in the art that you create.
I'm excited to see what you do with that. It is time to get it back out.
Well,
Get your coffee and your pen. Let's go, girl.
Okay, yeah, okay. What mug are you drinking today? Because you had when we talked, you had, okay, so
My friend gave this to me. This is what published looks like when I got my book signed.
That is awesome. Awesome. Yes. Yes. And
we love mugs. Yes.
Yes.
What do you
I have, oh, where did it go? Sorry. There it is. It's my little unicorny mug. So
that is an amazing amazing mug. Good pick for the day.
Thank you. That I saved my second cup of coffee for you. So I made a point
Oh,
to
cheers.
yes, cheers to that. All right.
You.
Okay, so let's dive back into the book. We're getting kind of heavy, and that's okay. And I like it because that means that, we're getting to what I like to call the root of it. But I'm gonna ask you some silly questions now. You mentioned fuzzy socks. How many pairs of fuzzy socks do you have?
Oh my gosh, no one has asked me that. I can tell you because I just did laundry on Sunday that I have 75 that I can find.
Holy cow, that's a lot. I
I
was expecting,
really
you said seven, and I was like, oh, seven, okay, 75.
No, my feet get so cold. Like I have my circulation is horrible. And so even in the summer when it's warm, I have the coldest feet. And so I love my socks. I need my warm comfort on my toes. So,
I can totally relate to that. My hands and my feet regulate my body, and my hands and feet are always cold as well. And when my hands and feet get hot, I don't feel good. And I like to have that cold, even in the cold. Like I will be walking barefooted, like my little toes are purple, but I'm okay. That I'm like, it's okay, it's fine. They're purple. They still have a little color to them, but it's okay.
and then you can wrap them with the fuzzy socket
Yes.
blankets and
Yeah.
it's all fine. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I have wool socks. I have my wool socks for that. You also mentioned Butterfingers in there. Is that your favorite candy? Is that why you put it in there, or do you have a different favorite candy?
Butterfinger is good. Reese's used to be my favorite, but I got allergic to peanut butter after my third baby. And peanut butter was like, I was a girl that was like taking peanut butter in spoonfuls from the tub, like
Yes.
so much love. And I can sniff it. I'm like, so airborne, I'm okay, but like I cannot consume it at all.
Oh, that's
I
crazy.
know.
That's
hmm
crazy.
It was a sad day.
Yeah. But can you still have like Butterfingers? Is like Butterfingers okay?
No,
No,
nothing with
nothing with
peanut
peanut butter.
butter. No, I'm the weird person that like sniffs the air when like I'm making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for my kids. That's the next best thing. I'm just like sniffing it.
Hey, I love that you said that because I hope you appreciate this story. So when I started doing like super fit life, I had a personal trainer, and I was like going like hardcore, and like I was cutting out all bad food, and like we were literally getting me like super on track. And it was around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I hired her literally Thanksgiving weekend. And so the good news was I was home alone. It was my first, it was I had become a widow that year. So I was by myself. I had to work the next day after Thanksgiving. So I made myself shrimp pesto pasta for Thanksgiving dinner. And then like I said, I hired her. And so and I at the time I didn't have like a cookie issue, or I didn't have like like for me, like candy and cookies and donuts and stuff, like I'm all over it now. But like at the time, again, I was a widow, so food just didn't appeal to me.
Mm.
Um, but I hired her that weekend, and she was like, okay, I'm going to help you get through the holidays. Like this is going to, we're going to do this together. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And I would send a message, and I was like, I'm not really like, I really don't want any, like, I'm okay. And she's like, if you feel a craving, smell it, just smell it. And so I was like, oh, okay, I think I can try that. Fast forward, like several months later, I had my coworker sitting next to me with burger and French fries. And I was like, no, you didn't. No, you did not sit 5 feet from me with a burger and French fries for lunch. And she held up the French fry, and she like dangled it at me, and then she like ate it, and she was like, nom, nom, nom. And I was like, dude, not cool, man. And I was like, give me your fries. And she was like, don't you dare stick your face in my fries. And I was like, give me your fries. And so I just took the biggest whiff of her fries. I was just all, and then I handed it back to her, and I was like, all right, we're good. We're good. And there's actually an
Stop.
article. There's an
Yes.
article in a fitness magazine that says just that. If you are having a craving just take a big whiff of it. And the reason I remember this is because I was reading fitness magazines and I took a picture and I sent it to her, my trainer, and I sent it to my coworker. And I was like, see? And she was like, yeah, those fries were really good.
You validated me in a way I didn't even know that I needed to be validated. I just looked like a weirdo, but now I can say, like, listen, it curbs the craving.
It's legit. It's a thing. It really is a thing. I didn't believe it. I didn't, I was like, okay. I was like, I guess I'll just be that weird person just smelling food.
High five. Yes.
We're not weird. It's legit.
No.
According to this article in a fitness magazine, I might even have the screenshot in my phone. If I can find it, I'll see if I can find it and I'll send it to you. And you can literally carry it on you, carry it on your person. And if you're smelling food, you can literally pull it out and be like, hey, stop being the smelling police. This is valid.
We're on a very specific healthy food regimen, and this is part of it. Yes, I like it.
Just smell. Can you imagine if you and I walked into like a McDonald's or something like that, and we'd be like, oh, and then we walk out.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's funny, and I love that you brought this up because when I lost my voice for 14 months, there were things that I could not eat. So anything that was like citrusy or acidic, so no chocolate, tomatoes, oranges, no spices because it causes inflammation. So I would literally, if I had days where I felt kind of sad, I would go to a chocolate store and I would allow myself to just go in and smell the chocolate and experience with my sniffers. And it still brought lots of joy, even though I couldn't eat the chocolate. It still gave a sense of wonder in a completely different way. So I say go in and sniff if it brings you joy, damn it.
Totally. I love, and if you think about it, my understanding is smell is the most powerful out of all of the senses for memory, specifically smell and memory. So like vision and memory, like, yeah, it can help, but smell, there's something about olfactory where it hits in the brain where it really taps into memory. And so the fact that, like you said, and especially, oh man, oh, you have been through some shit. Like, good Lord. Lauri, seriously. You lost your voice. You couldn't eat certain things. So and then you couldn't after the peanut, like, wow, like chocolate and peanut butter. Okay, that's just cruel.
I know
that's
it.
Just cruel. Damn.
That was some emotional, shitty stuff. To not have chocolate and peanut butter on top of losing some of your identity. I'm like, this just feels ridiculous.
Wow. I will read that book. Bring it. I'm like, wow. Huh. Okay. So we have laughed, we've shared some good stuff, and you've informed me that you have 75 pairs of fuzzy socks, which that is one hell of a collection. So you've given me ideas for your promo video, so I'm gonna have fun with that. Now, owls. I wanted to ask you about owls. Do you have is owl like your favorite animal, or do you find that your spirit animal? Like, is there a correlation or a connection with owls?
I didn't used to love owls until I started writing Little Owl. So I hadn't planned the title. The title was like one of the very last things. But during that time in my life, as I was writing Adeline's perspective and really diving into some of my own experiences with PTSD and child abuse, I kept thinking about a bird and how I wanted to be set free. And it felt very much like writing this novel was, in a sense, a way to set me free. And so I started thinking of birds. And then, of course, as some of these twisted layers came about, I was like, how can I bring in a bird to kind of have that metaphor for being set free, but also like, how can it be turned into kind of a dark mentality? And where owls, I see them as very wise and all-knowing. They see everything. And that's kind of where the owl took place of perching high in the tree, using it as a sinister kind of token with the lockets that I have placed throughout the story of someone's been here and I'm watching you. And so that you're able to get both of those layers within this really beautiful bird, both the wise and the beautiful and the graceful and the free, but also like kind of the sinister parts as well.
Owls are very fascinating, and the fact that there's so many different types of owls. One of my favorite owls is it can't get wet because it prides itself on its silence when it comes in to pounce on the little mice.
Mhm.
And it can't get wet because if it gets wet, then its feathers won't have that silent factor to it, that hunting aspect of it.
Yes.
Which is creepy. It's cool and creepy.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
I get it. What I wanted to ask you was Nancy Drew and your 13-year-old self. Did you start like really getting into Nancy Drew books like at that age, or were you reading, darker things at a younger age, or like how did all of that come about with your fascination with Nancy Drew?
Oh man. Nancy Drew was just that protagonist. I loved how she would always look at the mystery behind the mystery. So where everyone else would kind of be like, okay, I think we got the clues and we're done. Nancy looked into the hard stuff and was like, no, we didn't look around the corner, or we didn't look in the dark tunnel. And I felt like with my 13-year-old self growing up with child abuse, that strength within the protagonist of like, it's scary, but also we may find something there that could be useful and helpful to move forward. And that sense of mystery and wonder made it, yeah, it was a little creepy for me. Yeah, I was scared as a 13-year-old of like, oh my gosh, do I want to look or should I hide? But there was also strength in that too, of like, okay, we could find something cool within this experience, or we could find a different perspective or understanding that maybe we didn't see before if we're willing to look at the story or the mystery behind the mystery. And so I fell in love with her at that point of just really this connection with that character. And it stuck throughout the rest of my life, reading all of her books. And if I ever get a tattoo, which I plan on, it will be a magnifying glass or of Nancy Drew. So
Oh, that is awesome. That sounds like the best tattoo ever. I
and
I, I
fitting,
really
yeah.
hope you get it. I really hope you get it. And you better share that because I really want to see that. That's freaking awesome.
Thank you.
Are your kids old enough to read Nancy Drew? Do they have a love of Nancy Drew?
My oldest likes Nancy Drew. She's getting into mysteries now, but my middle, she's 14. She is my kid that loves all things mystery, all things dark, all things suspenseful. Loves multiple POV type books. So she's more of my go-to girl that's like, Mom, are you ready to look into something scary and watch that mystery with me? And I'm like, I'm already there.
That's
Yeah.
adorable. Aw, that's awesome. All right. So now that we've discussed your book, your fuzzy socks, coffee, and the fun and twisted ride that you took us on with your book, but that it was also healing as well, which that just like that gives my heart joy. Again, I hate that you had to go through that, but what I do love is that there was a positive outcome from that process. That's awesome. I'm hoping that this will now lead to the next part with your podcast. So how did that come about?
Yes. I was asked probably about 6 years ago to speak at a writing group about fear, which is hilarious because I'm a very fearful person and they're asking me to speak about fear. And so I was like, I honestly made a million excuses in my brain of how I couldn't go before I was supposed to show up because I was that scared. But I showed up and I went through the whole fear presentation of the different things of how fears affected me, but also how it has also been a really positive outlook within my life. Absolutely loved the conversations that I had with people after the presentation. And I went home and I thought to myself, okay, little 13-year-old Lauri, who used to love to interview her stuffed animals, if I can do this, I can absolutely interview my favorite people and learn about their lives and see where that goes. And so I wanted really to create a space of helping others to have a platform to feel the way that I felt in that moment of like this person giving me an opportunity to show up in something I was afraid to do. And then it propelled me into other things. And so that's when the Enlightenment Show began, was a platform to do the same thing for others and help celebrate them and their journey. I was going to try it for a few months and see if I liked it, see how it went. Three months into it, I loved it, and it's now 4.5 years, and we're still going strong. So
That is awesome. So, okay, fear is funny in the sense that it can hold us back, but when we face it and get through it, we feel like freaking badasses. Yeah.
Yes.
It's so crazy how that is, right? So when you said that you had like to talk about fear, so my understanding is public speaking is like the number one fear, like even going to the dentist. If you think about that, like that is just weird, right?
Yeah.
Going to the dentist, like they're actually doing something in your mouth. There's tools and drills and blood and blah. Public speaking is right. Most people are sitting down, they're standing. It's very civilized. It seems like why is this so terrifying to us as humans, right? Where are that little disconnect, right? The short circuits in our brain, right? But when you actually break through that barrier, when you break through that disconnect, that short circuit, and you get to the other side and you're like, holy crap, I just did that.
Mm-hmm.
That boost of badassery just comes through.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I love that you mentioned that, because it's interesting is once you do that thing that you thought was in the moment so terrifying, but then you do it, then it's almost that euphoria of like, well, what else can I do?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy. Again, the brain is fascinating. It's especially like with fear and stress and trauma and grief. There's it's so weird how these things can literally paralyze us. But once we kind of, I don't want to say conquer, because it's not a, I don't, me personally, like, I don't feel like I ever conquer fear. I just kind of like chip away at certain aspects of fear, because fear is like this big thing. And okay, I'm afraid of that and I'm afraid of that, but okay, I can do this. And again, I kind of feel like if you just kind of chip away at it and chip away at it, and like you said, then you're like, how can I help others? Like you were saying, I feel like that's where the connection is with like our podcasts. It's like, okay, this helped me. I want to help others and have others feel the same way and have that same kind of euphoric feeling.
Yeah.
So the guests that you have on the show, do you kind of like like, do they reach out to you, or do you find the guests? Do you kind of look through, like, what is your process when you reach out to these authors and try to find out, hey, I think this person might be a good fit for the show? What is your process?
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of both. I have some people that reach out to me, and then I also reach out to others. And my process is, if I see someone who is openly sharing their story about something that they've gone through that is hard, but they're also sharing like the celebrations and also the raw truth of what happened, those are usually the people that I want to learn more about. Instead of just talking about all the hard stuff and all the success, like I love the conversation pieces of like, okay, what, excuse me.
That's okay. I have to do it too.
The in between part of how did you get from A to B and what did your journey look like? That's what fascinates me. Those are the conversations that I want to have. And so I typically, if people are already posting about some of that, then I know often that not only is that someone who is already willing to have that conversation, but they're more likely to possibly do that. I also look for new artists and creatives locally here in Utah, but just in general who are just starting out and don't quite know what to do. Those are some of my favorite conversations because I remember, being a beginner, we all have beginning stages all the time of how it feels in the sea of water of like, where do I go from here? And just needing that one anchor of a person to be like, I've got you. Hold on, let's go. So I definitely look for new artists and creatives as well that are trying to find a space to land to.
I was reading about, so there are people who are just hardwired to help. And I was fascinated by that concept. So, and I don't want to call it like the hero because it's not that. It's if you think about like firefighters, first responders, police officers, teachers, people who are just hardwired to want to help.
Mm.
I was like, okay, so there is a correlation. People who are hardwired to help, there's evolutionary aspects of it. There's like, so I kind of like went down like this little rabbit hole, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, but the one question I didn't ask while I was going down this rabbit hole, or kind of like forgot, was, have these people been through a trauma or some sort of pain or suffered? And that is like an extra layer as to why they want to, help others. Because yes, we are hardwired to want to help, right? Like that seems we get a benefit from it. There's that euphoric, right? But at the same time, like, is it because we have been through something that we feel that we can help others? So I'm gonna have to tap into that. It's really hard to, like, when I was in school, you could go to the university library and just like deep dive into all of these things. But once you graduate, you don't have access to the university library anymore. And the Googles just takes you off into these really weird things sometimes. And I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. That's no. So damn it, I really miss having academic libraries to tap into. I need the what is it? IPSCO, something like that.
Mhm.
I'm like, I need academic.
There's a difference too when you have all those books and you have it all laying out, and it's just like, on a similar topic. So you're not going off somewhere else. It's like, okay, this
Yeah,
is not what I'm looking for at all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
A different experience.
It's crazy because podcasts, there's like so many different podcasts out there, and there's so many different types of podcasts. And it seems like the people that really, like your show, my show, like there's something about we just want to have others have that. And especially, through writing, like writing as it's an amazingly helpful tool.
Yes.
And when I was going through my stuff, I think we talked about this. I had my daily journal. Like I would literally write into the ether, and it's all here on my little computer. And it was my daily writing. It was my morning journals. And it's so crazy how writing is such an amazing tool.
Hmm.
And yet, when kids have to take English and they're, it just breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart. I'm like, if you understood the power that writing has, it's so magical.
I didn't, it's so interesting. As a teen, I liked writing and I loved doing, the creative aspect, but I didn't appreciate it the way that I did, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And now, because I didn't trust myself to sit down with my notebook and just be like, okay, whatever comes out on paper is perfect and great. And it doesn't need to be edited. Like, just allow yourself to breathe and heal and put it on the paper. At that point in my life, it was all just, I've got to make sure everything is perfect. And that would almost halt me from putting anything on the paper at all. I'd be kind of like in the mentality of like, oh, never mind, forget it.
It's crazy. Like it's again, and this is, the beauty of age, right?
Hmm?
As we get older, we get wiser, and certain shit we can just let go.
Yes.
And we also learn, and this is, I think, I don't know, if I could go back in time and if I could help people feel better writing, it's just writing, like just practice writing, just write, just write, just write. Like I can't, you hear this all the time, all the writing, like you have to write and you have to read. Like in order to get better at it, you just have to do it, and you have to suck, and you have to accept that you're gonna suck. You're gonna like this is okay. So I'll wrap this up with this analogy. So my magical realism, I'm terrified because I'm afraid it's gonna suck.
You're
So you know what I don't do? I don't write it.
But that is the first starter now. Now
I know.
somebody
So
is
I'm gonna do,
doing
I need to add it to my board. I have my whiteboards right here. And so I need to, this is for my book, and then this one's for the podcast. So now I need to get another little whiteboard that's just for the magical realism book. I'll do that.
Bravo.
And
Yes,
it's the
bravo.
first thing, just start. Just start. So here, I'll make you happy right now. I'm gonna write a post. Here's a post-it, bright green post-it.
This is delighting me greatly. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Big,
We're
this
going.
my purple. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna write it right now. You guys are all witnessing this. Okay. Just start. And parentheses, magical realism. Can you hear me writing?
Hell yes. I can definitely hear that beautiful
All
sound
right.
of the Sharpie gliding with
Okay.
the just start. Yes.
There you go.
Ah!
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. You are all witnessing this. There's my post-it. I got it right here. Just start magical realism. Okay. I will set aside 30 minutes a day. I'm going to start small, 30 minutes a day, and just start sucking and be okay with it.
High five. Yes.
Yes.
30 minutes. You've got this.
I can do this.
Go.
I can do this. I'll take it out of the drawer where
Right.
it's been buried for 8 years.
Oh, it's going to be so happy to see you. Yay.
So okay, I'm just accepting it. I'm just accepting that it's a process, and it's a process. That's what we have to go through. That's what
It's
we
a
have to
journey.
do. It
It
is. It is a
absolutely is.
journey. It is
Mhm.
totally a journey. So, do you have any like speaking engagements or anything? Do you like do you have upcoming things that you would like to share with the listeners that where they can find you and where they can learn more about you?
Yes, I am actually speaking on April 20th here in Utah at a conference called the League of Utah Writers. I'll be speaking on Your Voice is More Than Your Vocal Cords, which is a 1-hour workshop. I'd love to see people. I believe you can also purchase online. So if you're not here in Utah, you can get the link for virtual access as well.
Very cool. If you send me those links, I can add it to the show notes. That way I can have everything right there for whoever would like to participate.
Thank you. Perfect.
So can I just say it was really awesome having you on the show and laughing and talking with you about smelling fries and fuzzy socks. I'm gonna add smelling fries. That needs to be part of the caption. Smelling fries, smelling chocolate. That was my thing. So smelling chocolate.
Yes.
So-
Now is your reward. Go smell a chocolate store for like your artist date.
Okay, so you're gonna appreciate this. I have this little candle next to me. It is pumpkin cupcake.
Oh, I love pumpkin. Oh my goodness.
I have had this for I don't even know how, maybe 10 years. And this is my reset. So I have it right here. So if I'm, doing whatever, if I'm overwhelmed, struggling with whatever, I have my little pumpkin cupcake and I do a little reset. And then I'm like, oh, that smells really good. And then I'm like, okay, so what do I need to do now? So it is this, the power of smell. Ooh, you just gave me a caption. The power of smell.
Mhm. And pumpkin. Oh, come on. That is my favorite all year round. I'm a pumpkin girl.
Same here. Same here. Like I said, this is a Bath and Body Works candle. I don't even know if they make it anymore. And then there's also a little coffee bean in here. The reason for that is because one of the things I always wanted was to see my logo on a coffee bag. And so this was the very first collaboration I ever did with a coffee company. And so it's my logo on a coffee bag. And I was making a little video for it, and one of the coffee beans spilled out. And so I stuck it in my little candle. So this is my little happy, like I said, reset. So it brings me joy, and it reminds me to literally stop and remember I can do anything.
Yes, you can. You take that pause and that whiff.
That's right. So the power of smell and writing your journey. It was. I'm just gonna. We're gonna take this offline real quick. Because I do want you to say the tagline, please, of "Go forth and be magical." And you can do it however you want. You can sing it. You can drum to it. This is everybody gets to do their own take. So you can do whatever you would like with "Go forth and be magical."
We're just going to see what I do. Okay. You let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. You want me to do it now?
Do it now.
Go forth and be magical.